Hey guys, it's Kenny from Slurve.com, and I'm back at it again with my favorite cash game plays for the RBC Canadian Open. Before we get into that, let's go over last week a little bit. The Open Championship played at Troon. What a final round. One of the greatest final rounds of golf you'll probably ever see. The best in my lifetime, at least. I never saw the duel in the sun with Watson and Nicklaus. It was a little bit before my time, but Phil and Stenson, they just put on a show Sunday. I mean, Phil shot 65 and lost by 3 strokes. Stenson just making every putt. Shot 63 in the final round. Only the second golfer ever to do that in the history of the game in a major. Johnny Miller, of course, was the first, and he'll tell you that every time you see him. So, that putt that Stenson made on 15, one of the greatest putts I think I've ever seen. He walked it in halfway. What a final round. What a tournament. Good on Stenson. Now he can eliminate that title as the best that's never won a major. Him and Sergio sort of got that as a battle, but now it's just Sergio. Going back to my picks last week, it was a pretty solid week. My 4 plays were Adam Scott, Sergio Garcia, Zach Johnson, and Matt Kuchar. All 4 made the cut. Adam Scott was my pick to win. He didn't really do that well. I couldn't get things going. He shot +5 for the tournament, was in 43rd place. Just couldn't make any birdie putts. Sergio, he played well. Another top 10 at the Open Championship. This is actually his 10th top 10 in 20 tries at the Open Championship. So, you know, every time the Open comes around, make sure you get Sergio in your lineups. Zach Johnson played decent as well, did well as a defending champ. One of only 17 golfers to break par. He finished in 12th at -1. And then my last pick was Matt Kuchar, 46th place, +6. I sort of learned my lesson with the Kuch to not use him in GPPs at a major, but he's still cash game viable every week because he's so consistent. I also went over a couple of value picks last week. They were Molinari and Stricker. Both made the cut. Molinari was +3 in 36th place, and Stricker played really well. He finished in 4th alone at -5. If you had... Those 6 golfers you could actually fit in one lineup last week, and that was actually my cash lineup last week, and it won all across the board. So hopefully it helped you guys out a little bit and you won some money. So this week, it's going to be the RBC Canadian Open. It's from Glen Abbey Golf Course, right outside of Toronto. Before you do this year's research, just know that this tournament is on a semi-rotation. The only years you should look back on is 2015, 2013, 2009, 2008, and if you want, you can go all the way back to 2004. But those are the only 5 years where the tournament has been played here recently. It's not the most difficult course in the world. The par 5s are all reachable in 2, and a lot of scoring will need to take place from the par 5s. Lots of bunkers. There's actually new bent grass on the greens, and they are smaller in size. A lot of the times when there's new greens, they do play a little bit firmer. So that's something to look at. The fairways are going to be narrow. There's a lot of roll on the fairways as well. Stats I'm looking for this week are going to be par 5 scoring, par 4 scoring, birdie or better percentage, ball striking and scrambling. A little different than it has been the last few weeks with all these huge tournaments, with all these big names. So the pricing is definitely going to be a little strange from what you've seen in the last few weeks, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. You just go with what you have. You know, cash lineups aren't going to look as nice to the eye as they have been the last few weeks just because of that. But, you know, I'll try and help guide you with a few of my favorite plays this week for cash games. If you'd like to see more of the preview of the course and all of my picks this week, make sure you go to projectroto.com. I write an article every week with my preview and picks, and it is free to read for everyone, so make sure you check that out. So let's move on to the picks this week. First off, again, you guys might get mad at me. I'm being pretty boring here, but you know, if it's not broke, you know, why fix it? I'm going with Matt Kuchar again at 10,600. I don't mind using Jason Day and Dustin Johnson, but it's, you know, it's sort of tough to make a good cash lineup with them on top. But if you start with them and you like your lineup, you like the way it looks, go ahead. I have no problem with that. So again, once again, I'm boring. You know, Kuchar every week for me, I don't care. I like him. He has been playing the most consistent golf outside of the majors, out of any golfer in the world so far. Maybe DJ, but you know, I did say earlier not to use Kuchar in majors anymore. Well, this is not anywhere close to a major, so I like Kuchar in all formats this week, especially in cash games where ownership is not too important. In his last 8 non-major events, Kuchar's finished 9th, 42nd, 3rd, 6th, 4th, and 3rd. I mean, that's pretty incredible consistency outside of the majors. He also finished 7th and 2nd his last 2 times out at Glen Abbey Golf Course. I know some people say he can't win anymore, and in reality, you don't really need a W from him to do well in cash games. But he's won at least once every year since 2009, except in 2011. I know last year he won on the Australian Tour, so you know, some people don't really count that, but it's still a win. With this weak field, you know, if Day or DJ falter at all, Kuchar has a great chance at his first PGA Tour win in a couple of years. So that's who I'll be starting my cash lineup with this week. My next pick, another consistent guy, Jim Furyk at $9,900. You know, he seems to be over his wrist injury and has started making cut after cut like he normally has done for the last 20 years. He played extremely well at the U.S. Open, finished 2nd, and has made 5 straight cuts in a row. He's very accurate off the tee, hits all of his irons well, especially his long irons. So this course should fit him. And looking at previous results, it really does. I mean, he finished 4th here last year, 9th in 2013, 14th in 2008. Now, he did play the Open Championship last week, and he's a little bit of an older guy. So if you're worried on how he'll do after traveling from the Open in Scotland to Canada, well, you know, I wouldn't think too much of it. All 3 of those finishes at Glen Abbey, the 4th place last year, the 9th place in 2013, and the 14th place in 2008, all came the week after he played at the Open Championship. So he's done it before, and he's succeeded at doing it before. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for him. I'm going to be using him. He's a safe play in my book, where there aren't too many safe plays this week with this type of field. My next pick, it's going to be David Hearn at $7,900. You know, Hearn, a Canadian, hasn't won this tournament in a very, very long time. And Hearn is Canadian, and he had the best chance in a while last year for a Canadian to win his country's event because he was in the lead going into the final round. Now, he did get caught by Jason Day and Bubba Watson, but that's Jason Day and Bubba Watson. It's not like he fell off too badly. It's just these, you know, the #1 golfer and the #6 golfer in the world just caught him, and that's going to happen. Really nothing to be ashamed of for him. He's never missed a cut at Glen Abbey, David Hearn, and he is probably playing some of the best golf of his career right now. He's made 8 of 9 cuts recently, with 7 top 28 finishes in that span. So 7 of those 8 cuts made, he's finished inside the top 28. That's pretty solid, especially for a guy at $7,900. I will take that for him this week as well. You know, he's not the best from a par 5 score, which is a little worrisome, but he is exceptional at par 4 scoring. And when you look at the trends from the top 5 finishers at Glen Abbey the last 5 times the tournament was played here, you'd see that 75% of the golfers in the top 5 were inside the top 85 that year in par 5 scoring. But over 80% of the golfers in the top 5 were inside the top 85 in par 4 scoring. So while it is important to do well on par 5s this week, the trends do say that good par 4 scorers do well here as well. He's also very good in proximity from 125 to 150 and 150 to 175, and up almost 50% of all approach shots come from that range. He's also been trending up recently because in his last 2 events, he has 2 top 20s. So definitely on the upswing. I feel confident in using him this week. My last pick is going to be Harold Varner III at $7,800. The guy's been on fire lately, making his last 9 cuts with 5 top 25 finishes and 3 top 10s in that span. All of those top 25s and top 10s have come in less than stellar fields, just like the one this week. He hits the ball a mile, makes a ton of birdies, and is ranked 6th in par 5 scoring for the year. He's going to try to make his claim as Rookie of the Year, and if he gets a victory, he will definitely overtake Smiley Kaufman for that award. He struggled pretty mightily earlier this year. He had a stretch of 4 straight missed cuts. But I think that was due to lack of focus. You know, it seemed like watching him, he was just happy to be out there on the tour because, you know, he just made the PGA Tour by like $1,000, $100. He was one of the last people in to make it from the web.com tour. You know, he was dabbing all the time, playing to the crowd. Well, a few weeks ago, I went to the Quicken Loans at Congressional Live, and I followed him during the first round. And the one thing that I noticed about him was this was not the HV3 from earlier in the year. He was dead serious on the course. You know, he'd make a spectacular shot, and, you know, me being half drunk when I was there, I'd yell at him to dab or do something, and, you know, he didn't even flinch. He didn't even acknowledge me. You know, he just focused on his next shot. And, you know, it's not like there was a ton of people around him. He definitely heard me. I think this approach is really helping him, and you can see it working when you see his results the last 4 months. The last month, I'm sorry. So that's it for my 4 main cash game picks this week. They're going to be Matt Kuchar at 10,600, Jim Furyk at 9,900, David Hearn at 7,900, and Harold Varner III at 78. Before I go, I'll go over a couple of value picks I like this week. 7,000 below. I do like Daniel Summerhays. The guy's made 18 of 21 cuts total this year. He's made 9 straight cuts on tour. He's only $7,000. Seems like a steal for cash games. I also do like Chad Campbell. He's had success here in the past with an 11th last year, a 16th the year before. He's 6,800. And, you know, he's been playing really well. I think he's made his last 5 cuts. He's had a couple of top 25s in that span, so he's playing some good golf. And if you're thinking about rostering DJ or Day and you need that super low punt play, you might want to take a peek at Henrik Norlander. He had $5,800. This guy's made 9 of his last 10 cuts on tour, and it's only $5,800. I mean, that seems pretty incredible to me. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Make sure you check out all the other guys on slurv.com. Brad Messersmith, my co-host on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, will be doing a GPP play video. There's also an expert chat tonight, Tuesday at 9:30 with the Fantasy Golf Metric guys. I'll do my web chat tomorrow at 1 p.m. for your lunch break, and then Brad, Chris Durrell, and Eric Patterson will be doing another webcast tomorrow night, Wednesday at 9:30. So make sure you check that out, and also make sure you check out ProjectRoto.com and all the good stuff that comes from there, including my article every week. All right, guys, good luck, win some money, and I'll see you next week.